Hello there. Hello, Sharon, and she reads a lot, and Mary, and then I don't know who else was coming up, but I saw some people were chatting. That's wonderful. I'm Gildart. This is Fireside Reading. It's a little community that we've made of people who like to listen to me reading every day at 5 Pacific in front of the fire, and you guys chat amongst yourselves, which is wonderful. And sometimes discuss the book, sometimes discuss other things, all of which is just so pleasing to me. I love that we are starting and have started this little group. And tell your friends if you think they might like it too. It's very satisfying. And the more people who come on board and enjoy it, the more satisfying it becomes. We are currently reading A Passage to India, and we've been reading this for, I don't know, 3 weeks now. We are over halfway through, and things are really hotting up with the arrest of Dr. Aziz, and we will find out what happens as we go along. We are in chapter 22. We're just about to read the second part of chapter 22. With Adela being brought home by Ronnie, and she's just about to meet his mother, Mrs. Moore. Welcome to a fireside reading of A Passage to India by E.M. Forster, Chapter 22, Part 2. The house came in sight. It was a replica of the bungalow she had left. Puffy, red, and curiously severe, Mrs. Moore was revealed upon a sofa. She didn't get up when they entered, and the surprise of this roused Adela from her own troubles. "Here you are, both back," was the only greeting. Adela sat down and took her hand. It withdrew, and she felt that just as others repelled her, so did she repel Mrs. Moore. "Are you all right? You appeared all right when I left," said Ronnie, trying not to speak crossly, but he had instructed her to give the girl a pleasant welcome, and he could not but feel annoyed. "I am all right," she said heavily. "As a matter of fact, I have been looking at my return ticket. It is interchangeable, so I have a much larger choice of boats home than I thought." "We can go into that later, can't we? Ralph and Stella may be wanting to know when I arrive. There is plenty of time for all such plans. How do you think our Adela looks? I am counting on you to help me through. It is such a blessing." "I am counting on you to help me through. It is such a blessing to be with you again. Everyone else is a stranger," said the girl rapidly. But Mrs. Moore showed no inclination to be helpful. A sort of resentment emanated from her. She seemed to say, "Am I to be bothered forever?" Her Christian tenderness had gone, or had developed into a hardness, a just irritation against the human race. She had taken no interest at the arrest, asked scarcely any questions, and had refused to leave her bed on the awful last night of Moharram, when an attack was expected on the bungalow. "I know it's all nothing. I must be sensible. I do try," Adela continued, working again towards tears. "I shouldn't mind if it had happened anywhere else. At least, I really don't know where it did happen." Ronnie supposed that he understood what she meant. She could not identify or describe the particular cave, indeed almost refused to have her mind cleared up about it, and it was recognized that the defense would try to make capital out of this during the trial. He reassured her the Marabar caves were notoriously like one another. Indeed, in the future, they were to be numbered in sequence with white paint. "Yes, I mean that, at least not exactly, but there is this echo that I keep on hearing." "Oh, what of the echo?" asked Mrs. Moore, paying attention to her for the first time. "I can't get rid of it." "I don't suppose you ever will." Ronnie had emphasized to his mother that Adela would arrive in a morbid state, yet she was being positively malicious. "Mrs. Moore, what is this echo?" "Don't you know?" "No, what is it? Oh, do say. I felt you would be able to explain it. This will comfort me so." "If you don't know, you don't know. I can't tell you." "I think you're rather unkind not to say." "Say, said the old lady bitterly. "As if anything can be said. I have spent my life in saying or in listening to sayings. I have listened too much. It is time I was left in peace, not to die," she added sourly. "No doubt you expect me to die, but when I have seen you and Ronnie married, and seen the other two, and whether they want to be married, I'll retire then into a cave of my own." She smiled to bring down her remark into ordinary life, and thus add to its bitterness. "Somewhere where no young people will come asking questions and expecting answers. Some shelf." "Quite so, but meantime a trial is coming on," said her son hotly, "and the notion of most of us is that we'd better pull together and help one another through instead of being disagreeable. Are you going to talk like that in the witness box?" "Why should I be in the witness box?" "To confirm certain points in our evidence." "I have nothing to do with your ludicrous law courts," she said, angry. "I will not be dragged in at all." "I won't have her dragged in either. I won't have any more trouble on my account," cried Adela, and again took the hand which was again withdrawn. "Her evidence is not the least essential." "I thought she would want to give it. No one blames you, Mother, but the fact remains that you dropped off at the first cave and encouraged Adela to go on with him alone. Whereas if you'd been well enough to keep on too, nothing would have happened. He planned it, I know. Still, you fell into his trap, just like Fielding and Anthony before you. Forgive me for speaking so plainly, but you've no right to take up this high and mighty attitude about law courts. If you're ill, that's different, but you say you're all right, and you seem so, in which case I thought you'd want to take your part. I really did." "I'll not have you worry her whether she's well or ill," said Adela, leaving the sofa and taking his arm, then dropped it with a sigh and sat down again. But he was pleased she had rallied to him and surveyed his mother patronizingly. He had never felt easy with her. She was by no means the dear old lady outsiders supposed, and India had brought her into the open. "I shall attend your marriage, but not your trial," she informed them, tapping her knee. She had become very restless and rather ungraceful. "Then I shall go to England." "You can't go to England in May, as you agreed." "I have changed my mind." "Well, we'd better end this unexpected wrangle," said the young man, striding about. "You appear to want to be left out of everything, and that's enough." "My body, my miserable body," she sighed. "Why isn't it strong? Oh, why can't I walk away and be gone? Why can't I finish my duties and be gone? Why do I get headaches and puff when I walk? And all the time this to do and that to do and this to do in your way and that to do in her way, and everything sympathy and confusion and bearing one another's burdens. Why can't this be done and that be done in my way, and they be done and I at peace? Why has anything to be done I cannot see? Why all this marriage? Marriage! The human race would have become a single person centuries ago if marriage was any use. And all this rubbish about love. Love in a church, love in a cave, as if there is the least difference. And I held up from my business over such trifles. What do you want? He said, exasperated. Can you state it in simple language? If so, do. I want my pack of patience cards. Very well. Get them. He found, as he expected, that the poor girl was crying, and as always, an Indian close outside the window, a Marley in this case, picking up sounds. Much upset, he sat silent for a moment, thinking over his mother and her senile intrusions. He wished he had never asked her to visit India, or become under any obligation to her. Well, my dear girl, this isn't much of a homecoming, he said at last. I had no idea she had this up her sleeve. Adela had stopped crying. An extraordinary expression was on her face, half relief, half horror. She repeated, Aziz. Aziz. They all avoided mentioning that name. It had become synonymous with the power of evil. He was the prisoner, the person in question, the defense, and the sound of it now rang out like the first note of a new symphony. Aziz, have I made a mistake? You're overtired, he cried, not much surprised. Ronnie, he's innocent. I made an awful mistake. Well, sit down anyhow. He looked round the room, but only 2 sparrows were chasing one another. She obeyed and took hold of his hand. He stroked it, and she smiled and gasped as if she'd risen to the surface of the water, then touched her ear. My echo's better. That's good. You'll be perfectly well in a few days, but you must save yourself up for the trial. Das is a very good fellow. We shall all be with you. But Ronnie, dear Ronnie, perhaps there oughtn't to be any trial. I don't quite know what you're saying, and I don't think you do. If Dr. Aziz never did it, he ought to be let out. A shiver like impending death passed over Ronnie. He said hurriedly, he was let out until the Mohram riot, when he had to be put in again. To divert her, he told her the story, which was held to be amusing. Nureddin had stolen the Nawab Bahadur's car and driven Aziz into a ditch in the dark. Both of them had fallen out, and Nureddin had cut his face open. Their wailing had been drowned by the cries of the faithful, and it was quite a time before they were rescued by the police. Nureddin was taken to the Minto hospital, Aziz restored to prison, with an additional charge against him of disturbing the public peace. Half a minute, he remarked when the anecdote was over, and went to the telephone to ask Calendar to look in as soon as he found it convenient, because she hadn't borne the journey well. When he returned, she was in a nervous crisis, but it took a different form. She clung to him and sobbed. Help me to do what I ought. Aziz is good. You heard your mother say so. Heard what? He's good. I've been so wrong to accuse him. Mother never said so. Didn't she? She asked, quite reasonable, open to every suggestion anyway. She never mentioned that name once. But Ronnie, I heard her. Pure illusion. You can't be quite well, can you, to make up a thing like that? I suppose I can't. How amazing of me. I was listening to all she said as far as it could be listened to. She gets very incoherent. When her voice dropped, she said it towards the end, when she talked about love. Love, I couldn't follow, but just then she said, Dr. Aziz never did it. Those words? The idea more than the words. Never, never, my dear girl. Complete illusion. His name was not mentioned by anyone. Look here, you're confusing this with Fielding's letter. That's it, she cried, greatly relieved. I knew I'd heard his name somewhere. I'm so grateful to you for clearing this up. It's the sort of mistake that worries me and proves I'm neurotic. So you won't go saying he's innocent again, will you? For every servant I've got is a spy. He went to the window. The Marley had gone, or rather had turned into 2 small children. Impossible they should know English, but he sent them packing. They all hate us, he explained. It'll be all right after the verdict, for I will say this for them, they do accept the accomplished fact, but at present they're pouring out money like water to catch us tripping, and a remark like yours is the very thing they look out for. It would enable them to say it was a put-up job on the part of us officials. You see what I mean? Mrs. Moore came back with the same air of ill temper and sat down with a flump by the card table. To clear the confusion up, Ronnie asked her point blank whether she had mentioned the prisoner. She could not understand the question, and the reason of it had to be explained. She replied, I never said his name, and began to play patience. I thought you said, Aziz is an innocent man, but it was in Mr. Fielding's letter. Of course he is innocent, she answered indifferently. It was the first time she had expressed an opinion on the point. You see, Ronnie, I was right, said the girl. You were not right. She never said it. But she thinks it. Who cares what she thinks? Red 9 on black 10 from the card table. She can think, and Fielding too, but there's such a thing as evidence, I suppose. I know, but... Is it again my duty to talk? Asked Mrs. Moore, looking up, apparently as you keep interrupting me. Only if you have anything sensible to say. Oh, how tedious, how trivial. And as when she had scoffed at love, 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 her mind seemed to move towards them from a great distance and out of darkness. Oh, why is everything still my duty? When shall I be free from your fuss? Was he in the cave, and were you in the cave, and on, and unto us a son is born, unto us a child is given, and am I good, and is he bad, and are we saved, and ending everything the echo. I don't hear it so much, said Adela, moving towards her. You send it away. You do nothing but good. You are so good. I am not good, no. Bad. She spoke more calmly and resumed her cards, saying as she turned them up, a bad old woman. Bad, bad, detestable. I used to be good with the children growing up. Also, I meet this young man in a mosque. I wanted him to be happy. Good, happy, small people. They do not exist. They were a dream. But I will not help you to torture him for what he never did. There are different ways of evil, and I prefer mine to yours. Have you any evidence in the prisoner's favour? Said Ronnie in the tones of the just official. If so, it is your bounden duty to go into the witness box for him instead of for us. No one will stop you. One knows people's characters, as you call them, she retorted disdainfully, as if she really knew more than character but could not impart it. I have heard both English and Indians speak well of him, and I felt it isn't the sort of thing he would do. Feeble, mother, feeble, most feeble, and most inconsiderate to Adela. Adela said, It would be so appalling if I was wrong. I should take my own life."
He turned on her with, "What was I warning you just now? You know you're right, and the whole station knows it."
"Yes. This is very, very awful. I'm as certain as ever he followed me, only wouldn't it be possible to withdraw the case? I dread the idea of giving evidence more and more, and you're all so good to women here, and you have so much more power than in England. Look at Miss Derrick's motor car. Oh, of course, it's out of the question. I'm ashamed to have mentioned it. Please forgive me."
"That's all right," he said inadequately. "Of course I forgive you, as you call it. But the case has to come before a magistrate now. It really must. The machinery has started." "She has started the machinery. It will work to its end." Adela inclined towards tears in consequence of this unkind remark, and Ronnie picked up the list of steamship sailings with an excellent notion in his head. His mother ought to leave India at once. She was doing no good to herself or to anyone else there. Thank you all so much for joining me. More tomorrow, same time and place, 5 Pacific at Fireside Reading on Instagram Live. I will read on Monday and Tuesday, but not on Wednesday, and then on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and on, I believe. So I very much look forward to seeing you soon. But until then, everyone, please stay very, very well.